they believe that everything has been invented already, and there's nothing more can do. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not possible. Like you can never stop inventing.
Welcome to UpTech Report. This is our Founders Journey series. UpTech Report is sponsored by TerraLeap. Learn how to leverage the power of video at terraleap.io. Today, I am joined by my guest, Ike Kavas, who's based in LA area. He's the CEO and founder at Ephesoft. Now, this is actually part 2 of our discussion. Go back and listen to part 1, where we heard more about their platform, which is an intelligent document processing solution. Actually, so it's both an underlying technology as well as custom solutions. They're working with companies around the world, including the IRS. And this time, though, I want to dig more into your story, Ike, because it's one of the ones that I love. Immigrant coming in, $100 in your pocket, right? And you've got to figure out what to do. Help me understand, how do you go from that to now, years later, running a successful business that servicing companies around the world?
That's a good question. I think if I had to describe it, I think it's the grit. There's so many ups and downs. You have to be optimistic and methodically hardworking, I think. And if you put that together, stars start to align and things start to happen. So
the underlying grit, you're like, I'm gonna make something happen. What year did you immigrate into the States?
I came 2 months before the September 11th, so 2001.
Okay, 2001.
Yeah.
And then from there, the journey what was the journey like? Did you start just working in technology? Were you already interested at that point, or?
So I'm originally from Turkey, and even though I grew up in a farm selling watermelons to make some money, I was lucky enough to go to a college in Turkey where I studied electronics and computer architecture. And when the school was in English, so it was one of those rare cases where professors actually talked. The education language was in English, so I got to learn the language as well.
That's helpful for you already, get that.
Yes,
that
and then
right
I
there.
started working with tech companies there in Turkey.
Okay.
Then I tried to start some companies there with my friends, because with no money, you go to competitions, see if you can win it. I got number 2, so that didn't work out. And then Turkey was too small, so wanted to come out. Tried Germany, and then somebody said, "You're in the computer business. Why don't you go to America? That's where the future is." I said, "You're right." So I somehow put together my tickets. I came here with a return ticket, 30 days to expire. So I had 30 days to find a job. And as you can imagine, I didn't even have money to buy a computer. So I went to the college here. They weren't checking IDs, and I was young then. I looked like a student. So I started using their computers to send my resumes, and I created a pivot table about my skills and the companies apply. Methodical, but headstrong. On day 27, I found a job, and I was able to, the job that also had to sponsor me for H-1B, if you know what I mean. So
and that was MGI. Is that? Or is that Kofax?
Correct, MGI.
MGI, okay.
Yeah.
So, and then from there, what happened?
Yeah, I worked there. It didn't work out. Therefore, as a company, and then I find my way into Kofax. When I was in Turkey, I actually knew their products already, so I got trained on it. And then when I came in, I was the lowest ranking professional services consultant. But I'm used to putting 150%. So I think I got promoted 6 times in 4.5 years there. the long story short, I became an architect of the Global Excellence Center. And then um, when I realized they kind of gave up on this industry that I grew up in, and then doing they believe that everything has been invented already, and there's nothing more can do. I'm like, are you kidding me? That's not possible. Like you can never stop inventing. You can never stop innovating. So I left, started Ephesoft, and then I didn't have a lot of network. I went to some angel investors. Of course, they closed the door on me. They said no. I ended up bootstrapping the company. So build the software by working as a um, contractor some other places, and then build the software. I sold it, and then hired more engineers, sold more software, hired more engineers, more salespeople. So the software sales actually build the company to build more software. It's traditional bootstrapping method. Yeah,
We're
I'm sure
funded.
you
Yeah,
know.
just being able to each customer, you build the product and then you take that revenue, keep growing.
Yeah.
Were you naturally just found yourself in the sales role came easy for you and you're like, oh, all right, I'll just keep selling? Or were you more on the engineering side, or was it a combination?
Um, Nothing comes naturally. I mean, maybe a little bit, but you have to deliberately work on it. So to give you an example, I think um, before I started Ephesoft, I read a lot of sales books, accounting books, right? How to start a business, how to sell a business. And when I was at Kofax, I found um, a sales leader. I told him, I said, "Can you take me as your apprentice? I want to learn sales." So he took me under his wings and started teaching me. He gave me, okay, you need to finish these 4 documents, and then you have a right to go join to my meetings. And then he taught me how to do sales and then sales management. So you may to everybody, if all the entrepreneurs out there, I think, right, you might be skilled, you might have talent when you're born, but if you don't work on it, that's not going to take you far. So you have to keep
Keep
sharpening
practicing.
your skills. Yeah.
So you jump ship from Kofax, say, I'm going to start a business. Couldn't get the angel funding. So you're like, well, I guess I'll just start selling because I've been practicing that. And you go in, you make a sale, you build the software, get some hire in some engineers, then you go build another software for another company. So it's very service-based software building at that point. You bootstrap for you've been bootstrapped for 7 years. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Managing cash.
Yes, we had a few near-death experiences, but um, something always came through. Yeah, I had no doubt that it was going to be successful. I don't think everybody around me thought that way, but just I had absolute conviction that it was going to work out, and it always did. The last minute we closed another deal and pay the salaries of that month, and we never not paid any salaries. But those near-death experiences teaches you a lot. Yeah, but at the same time, even though my mission these days is to tell entrepreneurs the Silicon Valley way is not the only way, right? You don't have to go to investors, raise money on day one to build a great company. There's still, you sell, you make money, you spend less than you make, and the traditional business model, right? The
The
word
margin
profit.
you keep putting back in.
Yes.
That takes the grit, though. The word that you used right at the beginning. If you don't have grit to keep pushing through that, you're not going to make it.
That's right. Yes, and but at the same time, I'm not also saying Silicon Valley investors are bad, right? I'm just saying there are multiple ways to start and grow a business, and you just need to decide what is right at the right time. And after 7 years, like you said, we passed the $10 million at that point, and I said, okay, I've never gotten to 100 million before, right? So maybe I should bring some people who's done this several times and then they can be my advisor. So I went and then brought the investors at that point um, um, to join the company so that we can actually not focus on day-to-day cash, but how to build the best software, how to grow the company, how to nurture the employees to get the next level for them personally.
So that was about 4 years ago, if I got my numbers right, that you hit the 10 million in revenue mark. You're like, all right, I've never been to 100 million. How do I get there? I need some outside. It's more than just maybe money. It's that insight and connections. Well,
Yeah.
what would you say is when you're seeking funding, seeking that investment? What are some common challenges or problems one could make and need to avoid and look for in that type of funding relationship?
As an entrepreneur, as a founder, you have to set the culture in the company, how your team is going to work with you, and how you're going to expand that. You have to do that same thing in the board. I think that's the mistake, or missing point sometimes for entrepreneurs just jumping to the VC world. Before VCs, I had no board, right?
Yeah.
No board. So the my CEO coach taught me that the board works for the CEO, but board also has the power to fire CEO, right? So you have to deliberately design how you want your board to operate. That's an extension of your team. So that there has to be culture fit, but also um, you have to build in a way that you can actually learn how to build companies. That's the whole reason, right? I wanted to get to 100 million, and I need to have my board has been there, done that before, to give me the right feedback, and not just, hey, great job. Every element they need to tell me where I'm making mistakes and where I should go, what I should pay attention. So I am one of those lucky ones that found an investor partner. I call him actually my partner. Um, they've been such a great partner to me. The Mercado partners out of Salt Lake, and then I was able to put together also a board member that's like awesome people. One of them was a CEO of a company for $550 million. The other one manages a small business unit that makes $800 million a year. Right. So
They're there where you're trying to get to. So you've built that environment, that
you got
group.
it.
Hmm. So when you one thing is funding, but then once you have the funding, it's allowing you to do a lot more than you could do yourself. So it's hiring, it's building the right team. What was one of the most important hires that you did after getting the VC funding and ready to grow?
Yeah, the first advice I got from the VCs was, I stop doing everything yourself, hire the executive team that's going to help you go to the next level. So that's where I started. And I can't say I was successful on every hire. What they say, you sometimes win, sometimes you learn. That's still
Oh,
the
I like
case.
that. Sometimes you
Um,
win, sometimes you learn. I like that.
yeah, but I started with the executive team, and my goal was to find the right executives that understands the stages that we're going to go through in the next couple years, and understand what the company needs. And to do that, I look for people who has large scaled company experiences, so they've seen the scale, but
Who've already
also
been there and
being
that
there.
stage of scaling.
Yes, but also been with the startups, so they understand the struggles, and then what little resources you may have. Because if you're just exposed to the large company, you have a lot more resources than a startup,
Burning
right?
cash.
So I try to find those executives, um, and also again, I'm with them every day, right? We work long hours, so there also had to be the cultural fit. So you have to look at the skills and the people that you want to work with, and put that together.
You're at 100 people now around there, is that?
A little over 150.
Oh, wow. So what would you say of okay, first getting the right executives, but then building the overall team? How do you keep the culture and the energy and everything in sync when it goes far beyond you and the team keeps expanding? Is there any advice and tactics that have worked well for you?
Tactics also changed during the pandemic. What I relied on was transparency and over communication, right? And
How
I
do
have
you
team.
communicate? Is it like by email? Is it video calls? Like what's the
So
tactic you worked well to communicate?
I try almost everything because I know that everybody receives the information different ways. Some people get received the information by reading. Some people auditory, listening, right? Some visual. Some you have to go to lunch with them, right? I use different techniques because you have to as a CEO, because you don't know your audience, everybody, how they learn. But that's been the challenging part with the pandemic, right? Like when we are all reduced to all digital, only digital ones. But transparency, over communicating, I think it's been my best allies.
This last year has been probably defining for a lot of folks of having to readjust and learn. If you had to go back and tell yourself one thing a year ago, going into this last year, would you say anything to yourself like, actually, you should probably do it this way or that? Anything that you've learned this past year?
That's a good question. I don't think we, including me, realize the impact of mental health of the people that we work with. Some of my team members, they're in their apartments and they don't have anybody. They might have only a cat or a dog, right? Some of them couldn't send their kids to school, to anywhere, and then they're missing adult conversations, right? Some of them are so dedicated that we have Zoom meetings galore, and then they work from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m., right? So later in the year we started implementing a few things, right? We have chat hours. We just get on and adult talk, no business, right? We instituted no meetings on Wednesday afternoons, right? Or forced vacations every couple months, right? And out of the blue. So I think one thing I would have said is that we probably should have implemented those things in the beginning, not in halfway. I think that would have helped a little bit more.
Mental health in this past year, I think it was an awakening on multiple levels.
Yeah.
And I think in some ways, as a business owner, business leader, you may have not had to worry about it, or it may not have been as for the front of your mind to have to worry about these types of things in people's lives, your employees' lives.
Yes. Yeah.
For yourself going forward, what do you see as kind of the next big challenge that you need to work on to continue growing?
So as the company grows, I am less and less involved in the hires, right? I used to interview everybody. Now we're coming to a place where I can't anymore. So I have to be much more deliberate about our culture, especially my direct reports and maybe one or two layers more, if there's that much layer. I need to constantly talk about it and then make sure we're all on the same page, so that we're hiring people that we want to work with, that will come in. And I am also realizing that every person that comes in adds to the culture, right? So I also have to keep up with that, right? It's not just what Ephesoft entrepreneurs started, the founders started. It's how it's evolving, and so I have to keep up with that as well. I think that's one of my challenges. I really believe in the company needs to serve the customers, employees, and investors equally, and that's if one of them outweighs the other one, it goes out of balance. So as I bring new investors, as I hire more people, right, and then as we are adding a ton of customers, every month, every quarter, I have to make sure that the balance stays the same. So that's going to be my challenge.
Last couple of questions for you, Ike, is books, podcasts, audiobooks, anything that you've read in the past helped you grow as a leader in business or overall that you would recommend?
There's a lot. There's a lot. I'll tell you one book. I think that will be helpful to this audience. The entrepreneurs wants to start this way. Is The Infinite Game, Simon Sinek. I love that game. I love that book. I think it's the underlying comment that I made earlier about the customers, the employees, and the investors. It's about building sustainable businesses, and then one of those parties may not be happy, but if you do the right things, everybody will be happy at the end. So that's what I'll recommend.
I like that. I can imagine for investors in some cases they're expecting exponential growth, but it's the question if you're in here for the long term to be able to make people happy and not just a short-term game.
You got it. Yes, you got it.
For you as a leader, I'm always curious, what's your typical day look like when you wake up in the morning? Like what's one of the first things you do and just like you make sure you do every day?
I have twin girls, so my day kind of starts with them. One of them will want to go to a playground in the morning or some kind of activity. It starts with them.
It starts with
and then I check my schedule. I get ready for my meetings, like happened today, right? And I'd like to be prepared for the day ahead. So if I don't have time in the morning, I do that in the previous day. During the day, I try to spend my time. It's hard to do it on a daily basis, so I do it on a weekly basis. Some time allocated for my team, some time allocated for customers, some time allocated for my investors. So I just have to balance that. In the bigger picture, sometimes on a daily basis, it's hard. My day ends with some sci-fi movie on Netflix, whatever it is.
I love it. Ending with sci-fi. So you're even technologically futuristic there too, as well.
Absolutely, I'm a techie at heart. That's never gonna go away.
What's your favorite tech movie or show that
Oh
you've
my
watched?
God, how much time do you have? So I'm gonna tell the audience I have to pick between the Dark Matter, the Expanse, and the Stargate series, I guess. So I'll pick the Dark Matter because there's no aliens on that one. That's the only one without the aliens.
Gotcha. I like all three that you choose. Last question for you, just overall, and in related to your industry, tech predictions. What do you think we'll see in the near term, next year or two, or a little bit further, maybe 5-10 years from now?
Sure, I think it's just going to be like the autonomous driving. We were all of a sudden, just like that, we're going to start seeing the AI advance so fast and then sudden that people are going to start automating their businesses, just like what happened with the autonomous driving. I think we had a lane assist here and there. We had the buzzing steering wheels, right? It was coming, and then boom! Right now, we're talking about autonomous drivers, and then the kids are being taken to school by autonomous drivers, right? So that same thing is going to happen, and there are a lot of cool technologies and how to make AI even smarter and teach yourself. But we're also part of it as we talked on the different segment. I think that's the exciting part. It's coming, and people are not going to notice. Are not going to realize how fast that's going to flip is going to switch.
I love the future you paint and the analogy of autonomous driving, how that same concept will apply across the different business industries and your next job, what that will look like. Thank you so much, Ike, for sharing your story and the journey you've been on. For those that want to learn more about their platform and their business, definitely listen to part 1 of our first interview on uptechreport.com, or you can also go to Ephesoft.com and be able to see a demo of their platform. Thanks again for your time, Ike. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Alexander.
And we'll see you guys on the next episode of Uptech Report. Have you seen a company using AI, machine learning, or other technology to transform the way we live, work, and do business? Go to uptechreport.com and let us know.